As we lead into Boxing Day, I thought I would spot a few things out I've noticed over Indian batsmen, especially Virat Kohli, and where the Australians might bowl to him. And I'm going to go back a little bit. I'm going to go back to the Lord's Test match, because that was one of the days that India batsmen really showcased their skill and the way that they batted. But also I'm going to show you on that Lord's Day, on the first day, is how they got it, how England got wrong and how they realised. I'm going to also talk about Joburg Test, but I'm just going to focus on Lord's to start off with here. A lot of balls, if I just draw like the line here, or even if I just cover up the line of the stumps, there is still a lot of balls on this side of the mark, which means they're all pitching on about the line of off stump. Now, Indian batsmen are able to play those down the ground, either through mid-off, mid-on, or either work them through the leg side. So it was fantastic batting, but England just didn't bowl wide enough, and I'll show you how they sort of fixed that as we went ahead. If we just go to Wanderers, which was another time that also India batted very well, you can just see again a lot of balls. If I just draw a line again, just on the line of stumps, again pitching on the line. If you look at this side again, a lot of balls again pitching on the line of stumps, which means again Kohli, who of course scored that brilliant 100, was able to hit a lot of those balls through the leg side and down the ground. And he had, of course, Indian batsmen also left the ball well. And if we just draw a line just about there, if that's the 6 metre mark, you see there, too many balls are pitched over here for South Africa, and Indian batsmen are able to leave them alone. So let's go ahead, let's talk about Old Trafford, where Indian batsmen actually failed, and that's something Australia will look at towards the Boxing Day Test match. And I'm just going to go to that. Look at Old Trafford here. This is the line I was talking about. Pretty much everything is on the line, is outside the line of off stump, which means that the England bowlers realise you cannot bowl, doesn't matter how much is in the wicket, you've got to bowl around that 4th or even 5th stump line, as I showed again. So I just cover the stump, majority of the balls are outside the line. Of course, Manchester pitch actually did a lot less than what the Lord's pitch did, so that's one thing they realised. Now I'm going to talk about, like I said, about Wanderers, about the length as well. And if we just go ahead, just on the fast pitch and Wanderers, if I just draw a line, perhaps this is the peak. If I just draw that peak across, this is the 6 metre mark, this is the 8 metre mark. So so a lot of the balls are pitched on the 7 metre mark, which the Indian batsmen have allowed to pass through. So that's one of the mistakes that Australia can't afford to make, and that where Indian batsmen really find them under some trouble. And just look ahead. Just an example how well Australia can bowl. This is against England at Perth last year. The peak, as I bring it down and across, this is 4 metres and this is 6. So the peak is right on 5 metres. So they're still drawing the batsman forward. So with the pace and the bounce of the pitch, they realise this is from Ryan Harris, Peter Siddle, who won't play of course, but Ryan Harris, Josh Hazlewood, who's got that natural fuller length, can look to hit those marks. So that's one thing to watch out for the Boxing Day Test match for those two bowlers. Ryan Harris and Virat Kohli. We spoke a lot about Virat Kohli. This is a good example I thought I found. Ryan Harris, he only scored 4 runs of 19 balls from Ryan Harris in Adelaide in the first inning. And that's because Harris had him about the 4th and 5th stump length. And of course, as you can see there, if I just again cover the stumps up again, they're outside the line of the stumps. So which means they're bowled around the 5th or the 5.5 stump line even 4, just outside. That's the place to bowl. Otherwise Kohli would just play you through there. In the second innings, he tries the same length, but as you see, because it's the 4th day pitch, or the 5th day pitch, shall I say, this is the 4 metre length. He's bowled a lot of full balls in here, and that's the ones Kohli's able to capitalise on. That's why he's able to get those 21 of 28 from Ryan Harris in that innings in Adelaide. Again, if we just go against Kohli against Stark here, and Kohli got 19 of 27 balls in Brisbane in the first inning. Now he got majority of those runs through Mitchell Stark. If you just have a look, a lot of Stark's deliveries here are pitching well outside the leg stump, which means Kohli can get inside the line of the ball and just play them through here. These ones are far too full, and Kohli was able to drive them. They're about 4 and even 4.5 metres, but it's almost the right length, but Kohli was able to cash in. Hazlewood, the man who dismissed Kohli, if you just have a look, I mean, This is the length, 80 meters. It's quite short, and Kohli should be leaving those balls. But because he doesn't really have the cut shot as such, or you look to pull those balls, and because it was early on in the innings, it's this ball which is just slightly fuller and just slightly wider that Kohli actually thinks that it's actually wide enough to play the square cut, and he gets an edge. So that's something that Australia will be mindful of here, especially Hazlewood and Ryan Harris. Again, in Brisbane in the second innings, a lovely length. Again, if I just cover the stumps again, apart from those one ball there, and that's the ball that got him out, and that's of course angled across Kohli by Mitchell Johnson where he poked and dragged it on. Again, but apart from that, if you see there, a bunch of balls there and there, of course a lot of them are through Shane Watson. They've also been balled around that 4.5 stump line. So that's something. 4.5 up and make him drive. Kohli's one of the important players. Let's see how Ryan Harris and Josh Hazlewood bowl to him at Boxing Day. Just look out for those things when you're watching on TV in the next 3 or 4 days.